Good morning. My name is Jennifer and today I'm making Ibores cheese, which is a cheese from Spain. It's a mesophilic cheese. It only goes up to 86 degrees total and it's tangy, fresh. You brush it with this paprika olive oil rind thing. I've done it once before and I didn't like it. So we're going to try it today and see if I can change my mind. The interesting thing about this cheese is that it has traditionally been made without any cultures. It's just by letting the milk ripen. So it's coming in from the cow. Go out. No, you cannot be in here. It's naturally ripened and then you add a little bit of rennet and cook the curds for a little bit and you get it into the mold. It is a very minimal cheese, minimal handling, minimal temp, minimal cultures, minimal everything. If you want to treat your milk gently and you want a cheese that's not very involved and is pretty basic, this one might be the right one for you, if it works. Right here we have full pot of milk. It is half fresh milk from today and half milk that was in the fridge. It's full. So this is at 86 degrees right now, and now I'm going to add my clabber culture, which is from 2 days ago. I had it in the fridge overnight. The cream that's set up on top, and then the milk underneath is a little bit more chunky. So we're gonna shake it up. The interesting thing about this cheese is that it has traditionally been made without any cultures. It's just by letting the milk ripen, which is basically what I'm doing with my clabber culture. Clabber is milk that has been left to ripen, and then I'm going to add it to this milk and let it ripen in an hour. Looks pretty good. Yep, it's beautiful. You're supposed to cut the curd into 2-inch columns and then let it rest for a little bit and then cut it with a whisk. I do it a little bit slower just because this is a little bit more of a fragile curd because there's not much rennet in it and it's at a lower temperature. Give it 5 minutes and come back. And now I'm gonna let it sit for just a couple minutes and then I'll come in with a whisk. Gonna let it settle just for a few minutes and then we'll skim off some of this whey so that we don't make such a mess when we stir. I'm gonna stir this gently for about 5 minutes, just breaking up the curd. Just temp it and make sure it's at 86 degrees, 84. So I'm gonna turn the heat on just to raise it a couple degrees. So right now you can see that these curds are fairly fragile, soft. I mean, they're firm, but there's no rind on them, of course. The whey is a little bit greenish, but it's also a bit milky. What I'm supposed to be doing now is simply stirring this cheese gently for the next 30 minutes, and then it's done. That's what the curds look like. They're soft, they're quite small. They're getting firmer, but they do not feel rubbery. The curd is feeling like there's not much there. It feels like it's all sunk down. It's not nearly as small as when I make a parm or an Asiago, but it's considerably much less curd. The curd feels supple. It's a little bit drier. It's a little bit more firm, but it is not rubbery. It's not bouncy. It's not squeaky. It's a soft and flexible curd. Tasting it, it's light and soft and juicy. It's wet, but it's not wet, if that makes any sense. I actually think that this curd right now at this point would be really good if you salted it, added cream to it, and made some cottage cheese. I'm gonna let this settle for 5 minutes so the curds sink to the bottom. It's not hot, but you're gonna have to use 2 hands, and it's very loose curd in there. Okay. Ooh, here, can you put this outside? This is juicy. It's very pleasant. I know from experience that this whey is going to just be splatting everywhere. So I want to tilt this up so that it can be running out. It's a lot of curd. Okay. And there we have a very full cheese. It's up to them. I'm going to take these off. I did not wet the cheesecloth because this is a mesophilic cheese and is lower temperatures and it does not have trouble sticking to the cloth at all. And then I just press on this a little bit. If you didn't have to pee already, you do now. So I'm going to let this just rest for a few minutes and then I'll come back and finish it off. Okay. This out. Still not totally low, but it's getting there. Now I'm going to flip this because I want to make sure this is getting down into the mold. This one sticks together quite nicely. It reminds me of a blue cheese, though it's more stuck together than that. And now get that down in the lip. And then you let it go at about 25 pounds for about an hour. So just some firm, medium, low pressure, an hour. During this time, I have pushed it down occasionally to tighten it up and let more whey run off. Now this gets pressed at medium pressure, about 50 pounds for the next 2 hours or so. That's at 60 pounds, but it'll go down. It's knitting together very well. See how smooth that is? So now this is the final press. It'll go for another 4 hours or so, and I'm gonna press it at 75 pounds, 80, but that's close enough. Hang on, did you notice I missed something called brining? Let's try again. Let me go get the cheese.
This toast is made with our quality strawberry from our garden.
Cannot believe I almost did that. This is 1 ounce more than the other cheese that I did 2 days ago. It's like has moisture popping out of it. That's weird. Keep pulling that out. Here's the smoked paprika, and I'm going to use olive oil. So this has been drying for a few days. I'm a little bit concerned about these little like white spots that look like it cracked, like the curd wasn't quite done there maybe. And over here you can see where I put that extra salt because it felt a little bit wet. But overall, I think it's probably fine. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika and some olive oil to make a paste for a 3-gallon cheese. This is about an 8-gallon cheese. I'm just gonna do 4 tablespoons. 1. If I have excess, I can save this for and possibly rub it on if I need more. And then you just add enough oil to make a slurry. I want it to be creamy enough to just smear on. Oil is supposed to soak into the cheese, leaving the paprika on the outside. If it is a thick paste, it won't smear around the cheese and I'll just have globs of paprika. So I want it to spread fairly smoothly. That's beautiful. A little bit jaggedy here, so I'm kind of trying to get it down into the crevices. It smells so good. It smells so warm. It smells like sunshine and the South, like Texas, Arizona. I've never been to Arizona, but it smells like the South. I'm just gonna plop it on here. My handprint is on the top. And we'll just continue to age this like that. I'm just gonna plop the last of this into this little container and keep it in the fridge in case mold comes up. You can reapply this paprika oil as needed. I'm wanting to compare the flavors between when there's smoked paprika rub on it and when there is not a rub. How much is it affected by the rub and how much does the cheese shine through regardless of what you do on the outside? This one, ready? Here we go. Mold. I moved Ibores into the cheese cave this past weekend when we were doing the barn raising because that room was getting hot. It got warm, like 70 degrees that week, and we needed the space. My brother-in-law was staying in the room. So all the cheeses went down to the cheese cave, and now it is time to tend to them. They're a little bit wonky. So it has gotten really moldy. Why? I guess it needs to be patched again. Oh yeah, look at that. See how it's all on top and it's on the sides. But if I go like that, it kind of presses in. So my question is this something that you kind of brush off? Just dry brush it? I think I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna put more of that paprika rub on it. I have no idea if this is the right thing to do or not, but it kind of feels right. So here's the mix that's in the fridge. It's dry. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil to it and maybe just spread this with some more olive oil too, because oil is supposed to keep mold down, right? And there we go. All right, issues with that right there. Boris is going to town. We are going to remove it and, ooh, about dropped it. Try something different.
Action! Mom reaches for a cloth.
That fridge is drier, and so hopefully that will balance out the mold. The mold, there's a little bit, but it's not bad at all. I'm just gonna flip it. I'm a little concerned with this fridge. I just got out the other Ibores that had been air drying, and it's granulated inside and dry, and I think this is not high enough humidity, and that's why we're having problems. It's getting some mold on it, but I'm not gonna worry about it. It smells smoky, it feels hard. I'm gonna let it just keep going. I am going to test it with a core sample because I'm a little afraid that it might be drying out. So I just want to take a taste and see where we're at. It's hard. It's really hard. So I'm afraid it's going to be dry. Oh my goodness. This is really hard. Okay, I'm just going to go that far. Yikes. Oop. Smells fresh and tangy and bright, which is what I remember it smelling like last time, and also the reason I did not like it that well. I'm gonna just break off a little bit here. It is dry, dry. Look at it crumbling. Right off the bat, I don't like it. To me, it tastes gritty, maybe? It just doesn't have a good paste. It tastes bright, like it's young. It doesn't draw your mouth out, but it does not coat your mouth well. It's a little bit abrasive. The one thing I could do is vac pack it, but I don't think that's gonna help this either. Yeah, it's just like a tasteless blob of dry milk. That's not selling it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna set it aside and think about it. Not impressed with this one, folks. All right, you guys, I have decided to cut open this Ibores because I think it's a flop and I don't want it to take up more space in my cave. This could be due to the aging, the lack of humidity, or it could be something else. It is really, really hard. See that crumbliness? Oh, and I just got stuff all over my shirt. Yeah, that just is not right. It's way too bright. There's no lemony flavor or anything. It's just boring. It tastes really boring. It's almost like a feta, but without it being in the brine. I'm eating the rind here. I like the smoked flavor, but it's mild. Would this be good fried up? Like something to eat with tortillas, beans, rice bowls? Let's try frying some. There's some chunkamunkas in there. It feels like hardtack, like you put it in a dry animal skin and transport it across the desert. This is what you would have. This is like doing nothing. It's not even melting. Look at that. It just browns. There's nothing happening. It feels a little bit like a paneer. It's not horrible. It's a little bit soft, but it's not gooey. Okay, it tastes good now. It's like a Mexican fried cheese almost. So I'm not gonna throw this out. We'll just serve it fried. This one has only been backpacked for like 2 weeks or so, because I was afraid it was drying out, and it smells the same as this. And it feels that texture, that grittiness, ugh, identical texture. In conclusion, Ibores is officially not my favorite cheese. I suspect it has something to do with the humidity in the cheese cave, because as far as I know, I made these correctly, and I've done this a number of times, and it has never worked out properly. But I have also just directly backpacked it and didn't like that either. So I think it just might be the recipe or operator error. There's always a good chance of that. I just got some squeak. So this Ibores has been giving me fits because I'm trying to figure out what I could do with it, what is wrong with it. Well, my best bet is that it wasn't pressed long enough and that it was aged too dry, but I'm not even sure that's accurate. Maybe this is a very coveted type of cheese that I just have not acquired a taste for. I do not like it sliced plain. That's just boring and not good. Slicing it in thicker wedges and then frying it in a skillet with a little bit of olive oil so it's really toasty, then cutting it into cubes. I like to toss that into a bowl of beans. I did that the other night. I think it would also be good in a salad. It adds a little bit of a funky, crunchy, chewy flavor, but maybe I'm just forcing the issue. I read on the internet, somebody said that with cheeses that you don't like, slice them thin and put them in the microwave and make Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its. I sliced them thin, chopped them into cubes, put them on a plate, put them in the microwave for 2, maybe 3 minutes. And then when they come out, they're all spongy and soft, a little bit golden brown. Some of them aren't brown at all. They puff up. They're kind of tough and you just tear them apart, but they will crisp up. And when they crisp up, they're like this. And it just shatters. You can eat them as a snack, like as cheese chips, or you can crush them up and add them to a mix that goes on top of oven fried potatoes or croutons and add them to a salad. Almost any place where you want a cheesy, crunchy flavor. I told you this was a boring cheese. Everybody in my family thinks it's a strong flavor. My other son tasted it today and he said it tastes like Asiago cheese when you have it on the bagels, which I know what he's talking about. Like that is a kind of stronger, funky flavor when you get store-bought Asiago. I don't know if that strong is farmy flavor or actually a stronger lipase flavor. Anyway, these are the Cheez-Its, the crackers. I actually really, really like them, but I try not to eat them because once I start eating them, I can't stop. They feel like air, and it's actually whole pieces of cheese. And I kind of have to limit myself with how much cheese I eat because I have so much cheese I need to eat on a daily basis. And this is kind of addictive. So you might like this. You might not. I don't know. This concludes the story of Ibores. Not my favorite, probably my fault. You try it, see what you think. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know, but it's a cheese.